What we were saying was that essentially it's understanding why the bank sent the hawkish message. It wasn't necessarily to prep markets for an imminent rate rise. It was to steepen the UK rate curve relative to the forecast that or the assumptions that they had made back in August. And that was pretty obvious. So we knew that that was going to happen. But in this market, in this currency market, as soon as you let the cat out of the bag,
tell me why a central bank, and tell my viewers why a central bank wants to steepen the yield curve when you have a lot of grave concerns about the economic ramifications of a Brexit.
Well, so the forecasts back in August were conditioned on 2 or 3 rate hikes over a 2 to 3 year horizon. As soon as it dips below that, you're now implicitly easing monetary policy. That's higher inflation, potentially higher growth. And when inflation is already at sort of 3%, and 3% is the implicit line in the sand for most MPC members, that's basically changing the trade-off between growth and inflation.
Just final one for me, and then obviously I'll jump in on this one. Why do they want inflation or not? I always thought that central banks did want inflation, controlled inflation at somewhere in the region of 2 to 3%, as we say. Now that we've got it, it seems like it's an unwelcome visitor.
Well, I think if it's controlled, you're right on, spot on there, controlled inflation, if it's sterling-induced inflation, inflation that the Bank of England cannot necessarily control, then that's a bit tougher. But I think what's underlying actually the bank's forecast is actually, they actually see domestic inflation picking up.
They haven't tried to control it though, have they? I mean, they're not making much of an effort to control it at the moment, are they?
It goes back to what Mark Carney said yesterday, gradual and limited rate hikes. Yeah. That's all that the markets need to price in. We're already there. Any sort of further uplift in the pound from the Bank of England story, it's pretty much done now.
Just on the other side of the ledger, just away from the interest rate curve, Brexit. Was this again Mark Carney showing his colours? Because as we know, we sort of went into the referendum with the Bank of England saying all sorts of hell will befall the UK if you vote for Brexit. Ultimately, the bank has been wrong. But here's Mr. Carney again saying the UK could suffer if trade relationships are not patched up neatly in the Brexit negotiations.
I think what it does is it provides them with a cover for the rate hike, actually, because what they did last year is they cut rates to emergency low levels, and just in case, it's sort of like an insurance scenario in case things didn't really pan out well. The economy has been plodding along. Inflation is at record high levels again. And so what he's saying is actually, given that rates are at record low levels, it isn't such a big deal if we raise them back to where they were before. And given their updated forecasts on what Brexit will do to the economy, it kind of makes sense when wrapped in this package.
So what's your forecast look like from here into, what, tail end of 2018 for Raj?
Well, so for cable, we're actually now comfortable for the 133, 135 region. And same for euro sterling, 0.88, 0.90. That was our forecast going into sort of the Bank of England meeting. Now it's that story is now priced in. And the medium-term story for sterling is Brexit once again. We're back to sort of judging how open is the UK going to be over the next 2 to 3 years. I don't think anyone actually knows the answer to that just yet. Friday may give us a bit more clarity there, but over the next couple of months, we'll definitely get much more clarity. What would cause us to price in sort of isolated further sort of sterling strength? If we get a transition deal, if we get steps towards a transition deal, that takes away, it's what we call an economically rational Brexit, taking away a layer of economic uncertainty, and that kind of might give some uplift to the UK rate curve as well as the pound.